Hi, I'm Cedric from Ratings.com. We are testing today the LG C7 OLED TV. It has a great overall picture quality, better than LCD TVs, although it has some downside, like the varying luminosity and the temporary image retention. We bought the 55-inch for testing, and it is also available in 65. The picture quality should be the same between the two, except bigger TVs usually have more uniformity issues. Let's do an overview of the design before looking at our measurements, and we will also compare it to the Sony OLED and a few other TVs. The design of the LG C7 looks similar to last year's OLEDs. It looks great and it has a good build quality. The borders are slim and the top part of the TV is really thin, but the bottom is a bit thicker. The stand is different with a brushed metallic finish, and it feels sturdy. The back of the TV is white, which is not for everyone, but the color of the back of the TV doesn't really matter for most people. Some inputs are facing the back of the TV, which could be an issue if you wall mount it. At least, there are 3 HDMI and 1 USB port on the side. Now let's go over the picture quality. The blacks on the OLED are perfect, which means it has an infinite contrast ratio. The near blacks are not perfect though, as you can see in this picture of a 5% gray. You can see some vertical lines. Note that LCD TVs are not really better in the shadows either, but this is usually not problematic. The uniformity of a brighter screen is much better. The color changes a little bit throughout the screen, but at least there are no major dirty screen effect like most LCD TVs. Now for the luminosity. The brightness of the screen varies depending on the content. This is called ABL, or Automatic Brightness Limiter. You'll see it mostly in HDR, when the screen changes from a small highlight to a full screen. The brightness also varies in time, but not as much as most LED TVs. You can see in this graph that the luminosity of the C7 starts to go down after a few minutes. The viewing angle is great, way better than any LCD TVs, including Samsung's QLED TV. Note that there is a shift of colors at an angle, but since it remains a perfect contrast ratio, the picture is still impressive. The color gamut and color volume are good for HDR. Not as wide as Samsung's QLED TV, but HDR content will still look good. It has a glossy finish very similar to last year's OLED, but slightly less of a purple tint. It works well to reduce the ambient light as long as you don't have a bright object directly in your reflection path. A downside of OLED TVs is the image retention. If you display or pattern for a few minutes, you will notice an image retention after. The big question is, should you be worried about this when playing video games? Overall, no need to worry, since it almost always goes away after a few minutes, and there is even a feature to clean it. So far, we've only seen one case of a permanent burn-in on OLED, so it is rare, but it could happen. The response time is perfect, which means no motion blur following moving objects. Keep in mind that there is a downside to a perfect response time. Low frame rate content, like movies, can give a stutter look, as explained in our other video. LG keeps improving the input lag, and now the C7 is about 20 milliseconds in game mode, no matter the signal, even HDR, which is almost as good as it can get for a TV and great to play video games. A cool addition to the LG 2017 OLED TVs is the support for a 1080p at 120Hz input, which is great for PC gamers. It even shows up in the EDID, so you don't need to create a custom resolution like you have to on Sony LED TVs. The C7 OLED runs LG's WebOS and it is great, very easy to use, and it is responsive. The included remote can also be used to control the on-screen pointer. Let's quickly compare the C7 to other TVs. The Sony Z9D, very bright, and black's almost as good as OLED, but the viewing angle is not as good, and it is worse for video games, since there is a longer trail following moving objects. Last year's model, the B6, slightly more input lag and no 120Hz input. But if the B6 is cheaper, go for it instead, since the picture quality is about the same. The Sony OLED. Picture quality is also in the same ballpark, but it has some nice extra features like backframe insertion. Overall, it's very hard to justify paying more for it. The LG C7 OLED is a great TV. Perfect blacks, which is great for movies. and low input lag, which is great for video games. But it doesn't get as bright as the best LED TVs, and it can suffer from image retention. Overall, if it's in your budget, go for it. An OLED TV is the best TV you can buy. But as for whether to get the C7 or another OLED model, just get the cheapest one you can find, since the picture quality is all the same ballpark, unless you're looking for very specific feature like a 120Hz input. So that's it. If you like this video, subscribe to our channel, and see you next time.